And then do a little one in each chakra, starting at the root and proceeding on over to the crown. A lot of times, for some reason, I'll do 3 on the crown. That's a personal thing. And then when I'm done, and this isn't written down in the steps anyway, I'll take my hands and I hold them out like this, and I'll visualize them all, sort of like a middle pillar kind of thing. And I'll empower it saying 3 sets of choku-reis. So choku-rei 3 times 3. Choku-rei, choku-rei, choku-rei. Choku-rei, choku-rei, choku-rei. Choku-rei, choku-rei, choku-rei. I've got a good, strong visualization of all of them. Then, the very next thing that you do is a simple prayer, and you don't have to hold your hands up for this. I hold my hands up usually above the heart chakra like this. And it's a prayer or statement of intent, and mine goes something like this. It is my intent that the energy, which is represented by these symbols that I'm about to trace out, be used to protect and purify all present as well as the space. So something similar like that for you. And then trace out in the space right in front of you all 6 symbols, beginning with the Tibetan master symbol. Daikomyo, Daikomyo, Daikomyo. This is cool. Serpent of fire, serpent of fire, serpent of fire. And Usui-Tibetan. Daikomyo, Daikomyo, Daikomyo. Choku-rei, choku-rei, choku-rei. Seheki, seheki, seheki. And finally, consciousness. And this is the point at which I choose to do my invocative prayer. After I've done all of that, not before it. But you can do it either way, it doesn't really matter. Kathleen does it first, I think. A lot of people do it. So, okay. That is essentially the method that, can you feel it? Can you feel the method? Yes. Oh my God. You talk about being, if you can be ready to attune someone after that, you can certainly be ready to heal them. That's always kind of my thought. And it does an incredible job of raising your vibration. Okay, begin to treat with the recommended hand positions as outlined by your instructor. If you need a reference, a chart of positions is included in the chapter of this text, dedicated to the hand positions. Actually, right in the back before the appendix and reference section is a series of hand positions. We're going to go through these right now. We're going to talk about them real quick. Good. Thank you. Okay. Position number 1 in the upper left-hand corner. Oh, thanks, Faye. Here you go. It's all yours. Terrific, thanks. The numbers are cut off on that side, but that's okay. This is a position that I often divide up into two different ones. And there are a number of different reasons for this. First of all, if you look at it the way it's laid out, and I'd like to state that this is an exceptional method of treatment. This covers every major glandular system and organ and you name it in the body. It's beautifully laid out. However, if you look at position number one, what you're doing is you're covering a chakra. You're covering the sixth chakra, the third eye chakra. You're also covering a lot of non-energetic system stuff, like just the face, the eyes and stuff like that. Now, there's an interesting anecdote about the eyes. There's a book called The Shamanic Healer, about a form of similar to Reiki energy in Japan called Seiki Jitsu. Seiki, another form of Reiki, essentially, another word for it. Now, in this tradition, the healers, for a self-healing practice, comb their fingers each day and place them at their eyes like this to direct energy into them. And I was thinking about this. If you think about this from an iridology standpoint, in iridology, you basically have, the eyes being a hologram of the body. Anytime something happens, it shows up in the eyes in terms of a structural difference. So that should mean that there's a vibrational link or a link of some kind with every area of the body. So essentially what they're doing is they're creating self-healing, or they're directing their self-healing by directing the energy into their eyes with combed fingers. And the tips of your fingers are incredibly powerful energy fingers. So keep that in mind when you're working in the eyes, that you're not necessarily just working on the bad eyesight and all of that, but you could also be working on other deep systems of the body. Like I said, I separate this out into two positions, one lower on the eyes. Of course, I'd be from the other side, so the palms would be more on the eyes. One lower, because it covers a lot of the face that none of the other hand positions do. There are some huge gaps left by these hand positions when it comes to the face, especially some upper jaw stuff and things like that. And then for the second position, I just use something like this to cover the crown chakra and the third eye chakra. Play with it a little bit. It's up to you. I'm just throwing it out there for you. Little nuggets.
When I took Reiki 1 from Fran Brown, she starts with the crown chakra. She says somehow that, for some people, that opens them up.
I very often start with the
So
crown
she
chakra
starts
as well.
there and then goes to this one.
What I'll do is something that we'll get to a little bit later. Might as well hit it now. Chokure. One of the side things that you can do with Chokure is use it as a good intuition builder. That being, after you're done with the invocative prayer and you've traced all the symbols out and everything, and you're about ready to start working on the first one, just trace 3 really vague Chokures over them and look down the center of where it comes up, just like a gun barrel. And I intend that be the first, second, and third place that I work, and then I begin treating from the head down after that, assuming no other intuitive things. And
You mean down the umbrella of each one of the 3?
Yeah, just like wherever it winds up pointing to. And it's incredibly accurate. I used to demonstrate that in classes, and I'll still demonstrate that in second degree classes. I'll just pick somebody up on 1, 2, 3, and they'll tell me, yeah, that's something's wrong here, something's wrong here. So it's usually pretty. And also, I was just working on this lady in Cincinnati who's really bad kidney problems. They're completely calcified, and she had a kind of something wrong with her shoulder. And I thought, well, yeah, right, we may get to your shoulder, sometime in the year 2000. And I figure I'm going to spend at least a month working to get these kidneys back in good shape, off and on, being in and out of town. And the very first place that came up with that Chokure was the shoulder, and it produced significant change. There's a major energy center on the left shoulder, and entities like to attach themselves to it, so you'll notice significant personality changes at that point as well, especially things like quitting smoking, stuff like that. That's an interesting point for that. Okay.
May I add one addition to the first placement? I've had a couple of clients who are claustrophobic or have been abused, and they prefer starting with the crown. I've discovered I always ask someone, do you mind if I put my hands over your face? With coming from that direction, and then one person said no. I've only had one person say. And I've had one person say no, I'm really not going to do it. So I did.
The same is true of their throat.
Oh, yeah, throat is- I don't know.
Position 2, over the crown. Two different ways that you can do this. One is with your hands touching, one is with your hands separated. What we've found is that with the hands touching, it's usually much more of a chakra thing, like an energy level type thing drawn through the hands. Separated, it tends to balance the brain hemispheres exceptionally. Anne, who's the lady who all of you spoke to, aside from trying like hell to keep all this straight, is also in a massage school. And she came over the other night and she was just fried. And so I thought I'd work on her, And it took quite a while. And the only place that I worked on was balancing the hemispheres of her brain again. I mean, it was just, she was just so left-brained. It was just insane. So it's something to keep in mind. Position 3, I looked a long time to find out why this might be significant. I mean, aside from the fact that you have the brain stem joining in with the brain, the oldest parts of the human brain, blah, blah, blah. Interesting things happen. During an attunement, every now and then you'll have someone experience a burning sensation down in an energy channel that runs back there, down towards that left shoulder. It kind of links the two centers. And they'll have blocked it off so severely that it'll actually like hurt for a moment or so. And so I wondered what that was. What I wound up discovering was that there's a fairly major chakra right in the back of the head here. And I don't subscribe to the front and back chakra thing or any of that. But there is a second chakra in the back of the head at this position. And its primary job seems to be etheric physical level energy transference. Which makes sense if you correlate craniosacral and what they do with this position and all of that. Now, from this, you can increase, and it's kind of like greasing the tube for healing energy transfer between the physical and etheric body for the rest of the physical and etheric body. So that's a good thing. Now, usually that takes about 3 days, but if somebody's really screwed up, it can take a lot longer. So this is a good healing position for that. And there's where its primary importance lies, I think. Position 4, and it's basically this kind of jaw thing. One of the things that I find interesting about this is that sometimes it would draw energy system energy, and sometimes it would draw just, bad tooth energy, TMJ type stuff, or something like that. And what I finally found out here is that naturally, it completely corresponds to where the person's tongue is on the roof of their mouth. Because what you're doing is you're putting your hands right over the functional channel running down the front of the body. So if the tongue is on the base of is on the floor of their mouth, is not resting in a position to close that circuit, then what you have is just this open pipe to pull energy down. And so it'll draw energetic system energy like there's no tomorrow. Whereas if the person has the tongue, on the roof of their mouth and they've got that circuit closed, what you wind up drawing is completely different. So that puzzled me for a while, so I really worked hard at that. And that's kind of a cool thing to pass on to students. They ask me about it all the time. So. Position 5, I break up into 2 positions just because it looks kind of like a chakra balancing technique here, and I don't see why that should apply since you're not really doing that anywhere else. So I break 5 up into just the throat, and then I add the heart after number 6. The throat, you have to be kind of careful. You don't want to just lunge at their throat and give them a good solid grasp of the Adam's apple. None of that. This is a really touchy area for most people. So you have to be careful with that. One of the neatest things to do is to just gently rest your hands, out in front. I mean, Reiki energy does penetrate, very well in a hands-off treatment situation, and we'll probably talk about that in a few moments. So, do that here. You're still well within the range of that chakra for crying out loud. So that's no big deal. It's essentially what you're treating here, above all else. And you can rest your hands, right on the chin and right on the collarbone. Just make it very comfortable for yourself as well. Okay, position number, we're up to 6.
Well, the other side of that is on the throat, is if your hands are hot enough, and if you actually hold their throat, and they're in a position where that's not uncomfortable for them, that really feels good for some people.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And of course, if your hands are like ice, I would check the temperature first, not make contact.
That's true. So many people have such problems with having, especially the Adam's apple.
So some people are really sensitive on the carotid artery here, that just a touch can throw them into a serious problem. Reiki doesn't usually do that, but it's one of the things we were taught nursery training. It's not a good idea to take a pulse there, because the odd person out, there's a really certain person that's very sensitive to that. I usually have that flipping in the back of my mind.
Thank you. And thank you too. That is a good point. You're right. That does feel good for me. Yeah, very exactly. It's a personal thing. Position 6, thymus. The whole Rosicrucian thymus thumb thing, which I always swear someday I'll make into a song with thymus thumb. They tap their thymus right here to stimulate their immune system and all of that. Never rub, always tap is always their axiom, which I've pretty much stuck by. So. Also on that position, after you're done energizing that thymus area, and some people say there's another chakra coming in there, but I haven't been able to see it, and I haven't met anybody that's been able to see it, so until that happens, I'm not going to extol its virtues. After you're done on the thymus, you can slide your hands out to the shoulders, and the shoulders and the ankles are excellent places to balance the body with Reiki energy. I mean, they're just exceptional. Usually what you'll feel is similar to what you feel during a chakra balancing thing, and that is you will feel a tingle or a heat or your pressure or whatever you're sensitive to in your hands, more on one side than the other, and then it'll either balance out or it'll reverse for a while, and then it'll balance out. So that's a very common sensation for that, and a really nice thing to do right at that stage. Position 7, again, I go back in at 7 and I add the heart chakra. Now you have to be careful, obviously, about a woman's breast. With that, I'll usually treat off the body, or I'll find a way to get in between them if they're of the right constitution. But, we'll just dance around that one and leave it there. Yes?
Yeah, there's a method that I always taught that seems to work rather well. If you're working, if it's like